First of all, we're going to take a look at setting up and adding students to unmanaged classes in Apple Classroom. The black iPad is our teacher iPad and the white iPad is our student's device. So we're going to start by opening up Apple Classroom on the teacher iPad. And as you can see, I've already got a few classes set up here. It's very easy to create new classes. You can simply press the plus in the top right hand corner or tap where it says create new class. You can assign your class a name, and you can also provide it with a kind of unique color to identify itself. For this particular demo, I've already created the class. We're going to be using this class called Key Stage 2 Science. So let's start by just opening up that class. And we can see that I've already got 3 students in the class and online. So 3 devices are already linked to this class and are online and kind of in session. I want to add one more. I want to add our white student iPad to this class. So I'm going to press add on my teacher iPad here. That then starts to kind of send out a signal from the device allowing students to join my class. So if we take a look at my student device now, if I press the settings cog, there is a dedicated classroom kind of section of settings that you can see here on the left, and it's instantly picked up that my teacher is trying to add me to this Key Stage 2 Science class. So I'm going to tap add Key Stage 2 Science, and it then asks me to enter the 4-digit PIN number, which is obviously displayed on my teacher device. So if I enter that and then press add, that then goes again back to the teacher iPad just to press confirm that I want to add this student to my class, and it's done. I've now added my student iPad to my class in Apple Classroom. Now you can instantly see on our teacher iPad that at the moment I'm looking at different groups. So at the moment I'm looking at my all group, which basically shows me all of the devices that are currently in session. It then creates groups based on the different kind of content or parts of the device that students are looking at. So for example, at the moment, all 4 of my students are looking at the home screen. But if on my student iPad, for example, I navigate into a different app, something like Keynote, you'll see it's instantly created another group to show me the students that are in that particular app. And these groups are automatically created every time students kind of are working in different apps or different parts of their device. And these are automatically created groups. Now you can create groups yourself, and that's quite straightforward. So what we can do is there's a button along the top row to the very right hand side called group with a plus. If I press that, that actually allows me to create a unique group. So I can give my group a name. I can then choose to add students to that group just by tapping on their icon. Press done, and that's then created my manual group, which has again 2 students in it. So it's quite easy for you as the teacher to create your own kind of customized groups based on your own criteria within your classes, and then these groups are kind of memorized within this class every time you launch it and every time you run it. The next feature we're going to look at is open. So this actually allows you to launch students into particular apps. So I'm going to start by choosing the group. I actually want to do this with all my devices. I'm then going to press open, and then it shows me the different apps that are on my device. Now obviously for this feature to work, you will need the app downloaded on every student device that you want to kind of launch them into. And again, if you don't have these apps installed, the operation will fail. So you'll press the launch, and it just won't open that device because it will recognise that that app is not available. So in this particular instance, I want to launch all of my students, so I've chosen my all group, into Keynote, but I do have another option to lock them in the app after opening. So again, this is really useful if you want to maintain some focus and put them all in the same app that they're using. I can lock them in afterwards and press Keynote, and it will launch all my student devices into Keynote, and you can see that happening on my student iPad now. Now again, because on my student device I can press the home button, but I cannot, even though I'm pressing it right now, I know you can't see that, but as I press it, I cannot get out of Keynote because my teacher has chosen to lock that device into Keynote. Looking at the teacher iPad, you can see that it successfully opened Keynote on all 4 iPads. I can choose done now and just to kind of leave it there, or I can actually choose to open Keynote on this iPad, depending what you want to do. I'm going to press done, and again you can see it on the top now. The padlock in the middle is set to lock. So the command I have next is to unlock the devices because they're all currently locked into Keynote. And again, you can see on the teacher's iPad screen, there's a little icon underneath each of the names that has a little padlock and shows you what app they're all locked into. So I'm going to press unlock now, and that will unlock again all 4 iPads. And you'll be able to see this on my student device, that it's now unlocked, which means again if I press the home button, difference now is my device is unlocked and I can come out of Keynote, and again I'm kind of free to navigate and free to move around my device. That lock button is really useful, so when we look at open, we can lock them into specific apps, but you also have the option just by pressing lock to lock all the students' devices instantly. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at the navigate feature. So navigate is really useful. It allows you to navigate student devices to 3 places: iBooks, iTunes U, and Safari. Again, it's always relevant to the group you've chosen. So in this case, I'm going to send all 4 of my students' devices to the specific content. If I tap Safari, it lets me choose from saved bookmarked pages within my Safari browser. If I choose iTunes U, I can take them to specific courses and parts of courses within iTunes U. And if I have iBooks, I can actually take them to specific sections in different iBooks. So I've got this one here called Volcanoes. I know this is downloaded on every one of my students' devices, and actually you can see that it looks within the kind of contents of that book. So I might want to take them to a specific thing. So let's say Cindercombe Volcanoes. I'm going to tap on that, and you can see it navigates the iPads, the students' devices, to that book, but it navigates them to that specific section in the book. And again, on my teacher's device, once I've kind of executed that function, I can choose to go to that part of the book on my own device, or I can just choose done. So again, navigate's great for just being able to get students quickly and instantly to different destinations, whether it be iBooks, iTunes U, or Safari. Another really nice feature, which is available within Apple Classroom in these latest updates, is the option to mute students' devices. So again, you may have had situations where students are doing something on their device, they play a video, they play something, and their device just can't, it's blowing out noise and music, and they can't turn it down kind of quick enough, or you just need silence in the room. You've got a button instantly to just be able to mute the devices, and it just cuts the volume out on every single one straight away. And again, you can mute and you can unmute. Another feature which I really like, just for kind of being able to continue, to be able to observe and see where students are up to, is this option for screens. So if I tap screens, again, based on the group you're looking at, it will actually provide you with a little little view of what they're doing on their screen. So I can see, for example, that Alex here is currently looking in iBooks. And actually, because I've tapped on his specific device, I can do, again, some functionalities just specifically for him. So it's not necessarily always based on the group. You can actually do it down to individual levels. So screens is great because it gives you that kind of overview of what's happening on their screen at any one time. And then again, whether you're looking at screens or not, you can tap on individual students and access some of the same functionality to be able to see what they're doing, even down to getting kind of much better views of their screens. Now, another thing that you can obviously see that, for example, on this iPad here is currently AirPlaying. So if you have access to Apple TV, AirServe or Reflector in your classrooms, then what you can do is you can kind of control the devices that AirPlay to those screens. So we can see at the moment that this particular student's device is currently AirPlaying, but what I can do is I can stop that by again pressing the stop AirPlay button, or I can actually get them to AirPlay remotely without the need to having to ask the student to go through the steps to access AirPlay. So again, really useful feature within this latest version of Apple Classroom. Now, the last thing I wanted to share with you was again is another great way of using Classroom, but we're going to come out of Classroom for this, and we're going to go into Safari. So I might want to share with my students some web pages. Now again, we can do this with the Navigate feature to bookmark pages in Safari, but sometimes you might want to do it on the fly quickly. So maybe we're looking at something again like volcanoes, and I've got this website I want to share. If I press the share icon in the upper right hand corner, I can actually share this web page with my students via AirDrop. And you can see that it actually gives me the different groups. So actually I could send it to all 4 of my Key Stage 2 science pupils, and you can see it there. It's moved via AirDrop and is instantly opened on my student's device. So you can still share with Classroom without having the Classroom app open, because even though the app isn't open, I haven't ended the class, it's still running. And this is also the same for sending things like files. So for this example, I might have some photos in my camera roll. So I've got a couple of volcano images at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is select all of those and again press the share button. And you can see again within AirDrop, I have the option to AirDrop pictures and files to each of my students' devices. Again, depending on what you're sending, how big the files are, how many images and how many students will change how fast this process actually works. But you can see here that on my student's device, I now have access to those images that have been sent by my teacher via AirDrop. So that, again, the students can then use those images that you want them to use within their projects and within the work they're creating. To end my class, I can go back into Apple Classroom. I simply press End Class. And then, again, this is one of the sort of latest features in version 2.1 is the class summary. So it provides a nice overview of what apps were used. Again, if you tap on that, it shows you a bit more information in terms of during the session, which students use those apps and for how long. And you can actually see, again, by student, what apps they engage with throughout the session and how long for. Now again, this is a great feature, and I can see this being developed further and further, and possibly being able to kind of export this information as more of a report. But for now, as a top-line summary for each student, it's fantastic. It's a great kind of late new feature. So that's a quick overview of Apple Classroom 2.1 and setting up and using unmanaged classrooms.